welcome to Pleasant Kenobi Cube. This is your host, Anthony Adams, aka Uber Bear, and today I am joined by my partner in crime.
Hello, it's Stu, but no one cares about me right now.
And we don't have Pleasant Kenobi. We didn't have Pleasant Kenobi on here. We just thought it'd be really funny just to say his name to see if he tries to, draw us in.
Bit of clout.
Yeah, we're gonna get like a.
I can sue. I can sue for that.
Sue us.
Well, we're in America, so
It doesn't really happen.
Yes.
Exactly. It doesn't happen on my side of the pond, but you guys sue for anything, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, anything at all. So, welcome to the show there, PK. It's been a long time since we had you on. Probably a little over a year.
It might be longer than that, to be honest. But yes, we've been planning to sit down and stuff for a while, right? Just like calendars and they're lined up.
What is time, though, but a construct? We're going to talk about some constructs today. Actually, we didn't really prep you, or we really don't have any kind of show notes or anything like that. I thought we could have a little bit of fun, kind of do a little bit of holiday BSing if we...
We only just resolved our lag issues, and you were like, right, here we go, recording in 3. I was like, okay, we're off.
Yeah, dude, we got no time here. We got all these family obligations. It's the holidays. I got some shopping to do, got some repairs to do around the house. Stu's probably got some water mains to fix.
I don't want to talk about my... Yeah, so I'm probably 35 grand deep into a bathroom remodel that we've got going on right now. And it rained here in sunny North Carolina a few days ago. And I look outside, I'm like, that water, there's some standing water, I'm not comfortable with that. But it's been raining, so I'll kind of check it out. And cut a long story short, I've got a broken water main. So I'm going to be $6,400 deep into that next week
PK,
as well.
Have you ever seen The Money Pit with Tom Hanks?
This is my house.
That's his house.
It is my
I swear
house.
to God. I expect eventually we're just going to fall through the floorboards here while recording. It's going to be good.
It is dangerous that we have this
I
much
don't think that
equipment.
movie's come out here yet. It's...
I was talking about that with the other day. When I was young, I remember getting a bootleg Batman video when the first Batman came out, and it was like a handy cam in a theater because it was like a year.
Tim Burton's Batman?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Original Batman.
Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
You are dating yourself a little bit there.
I am.
You mean like Michael Keaton
I think
Batman?
that movie landed the year I was born.
We're going to talk that. But yeah, and it used to be the thing, right? US movies came out here, and then there would be like a year or a year and a half before they came out in the UK.
Yeah, I
don't
know
know why
that. I know this game because
absolutely.
It was crazy.
I was in the United States military, and we would travel abroad, and by the time that the movie would show up in that movie theater, that they would show 5 times a night in that movie theater, whether it be Turkey or Ireland or wherever you were located at, somewhere outside of the great country of Iraq, it would have already been out in the United States 4 months, 5 months prior, and you've already seen it 6 times.
They
you
probably
spend the next
had
3
it.
months of deployment watching the same film.
Yeah, they probably had it in Iraq before they had the movies in England. I would think it was. Crazy.
So welcome to the show, PK.
So video games are worse or similar because I imported Super Smash Brothers Brawl a year early in the UK and got stung for custom charges. I spent like $120 on this video game and then had to buy like a special disc so we could play imports as well. But yeah, so we got video games really late. And I remember picking up my GameCube on release day and I got to the shop all excited to play Smash Bros. Melee. And they're like, sorry, it's been delayed. It's not coming out in the UK for another 3 months. And I was like, what is going on? So yeah, UK used to get really shafted.
You play a lot of TCGs, kind of side, stepping here a little bit, but along the same topic. Do you find that a lot of the TCGs...
I've been known.
Yeah, you track a lot more.
PK's a gamer.
You track a lot more than a lot of people. And I heard that, like, for example, the game One Piece in Japan already has a meta by the time it even goes outside of that country for people to play it. Do you find that, like, these other TCGs already have formed metas with, like, time delays and shipping and before they come outside of countries?
Not really, because we, as well, in the modern era, we have cards at the same time as you guys do, right? So our Riftbound meta game is exactly the same as you. You and us are behind China, like as everyone else is. And same for Pokemon, right? Pokemon gets released much earlier in Japan, and then we get the Western releases, I think exactly, or within a week of you guys, maybe a month. Don't quote me on that. Someone's going to comment that a Pokemon player, but actually, the UK gets it 3 weeks late. But yeah, so we are in the same boat as you. Probably back in the day, that was a lot different. If you go on Wikipedia right now, which I'm not going to, but I'm assuming the Pokemon release dates for the original sets were maybe 6 months to a year after you guys got it. So I'm assuming that was the case. I say you guys, as if Stu isn't, once upon a time lived in these great isles.
I did.
But yeah, it used to be, but isn't anymore, is my guess.
Yes. Yeah.
So I got one more question since we're kind of just doing this one here. You play a lot of TCGs.
For Washe.
You play with a lot. Yeah. A lot of TCGs. How do you keep up with all these different things? Like Riftbound is kind of a hot new ticket.
I don't know where you've only got I don't know where you got that idea from. So I didn't I will try new things. I love trying new games. I'm currently deep into trying new board games. Board games is my current obsession, which we'll come on to later because it's very cube related. But so I will try new games, and then I just basically never ever truly keep up with them because it's very hard to play more than one TCG. It's very hard to collect more than one TCG. It's very hard to keep up with more than one TCG. So I am loosely aware of Star Wars Unlimited's competitive scene and a bit more aware of Riftbound's competitive scene and touch into Pokemon a little bit here and there, but I don't really play them because it's just not possible. Riftbound is probably the closest. I play a lot of League, and I've got friends who've really heavily bought into it. So they're like, do you want to come down to our locals and I'll lend you a deck? And I'm like, great, because I know how to buy or collect or maintain a collection, right? So I kind of do and don't. And the answer is I think it's actually physically impossible. Even as a full-time content creator around card games, I think I already don't pay enough attention to Magic at the moment because I've got other things that are my sweethearts, if that makes sense, like board gaming and stuff. Mm-hmm. So if I started playing Riftbound more, I'd be even more out of touch with Magic, So
well, I want to know now because we got plenty of time to talk about Cube. We can do that in a few minutes. People want to get to know you, right? What are the board games you're into right now? I kind of want to know this. What's the hot thing?
Right. So I bought the Slay the Spire board game because Slay the Spire is one of my favorite video games of all times. Because I think Slay the Spire is basically the closest you'll get to a Cube video game, right? I explained this to one of the CubeCon creators who'd never actually played Slay the Spire. I drunkenly just info dumped about Slay the Spire onto them. If you like Cube, you have to play Slay the Spire. So the board game came out, I got it, I played it with my friends, and it made me fall in love with a genre of board game called deck builder, where deck building. A deck building board game is where you start with 10 cards that generate some sort of resource, and then usually you have some form of market row or market selection or card acquisition system within the board game, depends on which one we're playing. And those games have got me hooked. Slay the Spire is one of that genre. So now I've just bought 18 different expansions for the DC game deck building game. One, because I'm a big DC fan, or was in the past, and two, because it's a really simple but fun deck builder that all my friends who don't really play card games, when they sit down with me and play, they're like, this is great. I'm like, oh yes, I can get you guys playing card games now. Well, with Cube, obviously, there's no barrier to entry for them having to own stuff, but they have to still understand Magic to quite a reasonable level to play. Where a deck building board game, I'm just like, here's 5 rules, let's go. So deck builders in general, so this is Ascension, this is Dominion, this is DC Deck Builder, this is Star Trek Captain's Chair, the Star Wars deck builder is fantastic, Star Realms, designed by Magic players, fantastic. And all of these things, as I've been playing them, have been making me think about Cube. There is a Cube in DC Deck Building. I met the guy who, met the guy who makes that, which is a maintained cube list. We take all the expansions and you make your main deck that you buy all the cards from that 100 cards from the rest of the game. And there's all this cube talk. They call it cubing, which is really funny because there's no draft. There's drafting at the beginning. You draft your commander's kind of card. There's a passive that you have in play at all times, like an emblem. You draft that at the beginning and then you deck build live in the game taking turns. It's really... Anyway, there's a lot I could talk about that.
That sounds fun.
No, actually, this is not foreign to us. Because
is that succinct enough? Is that clear enough?
No, yeah. You may have noticed May's not feeling well. The holidays also brings with it not only great cheer, but, great bugs in the air and whatnot. So she's feel well, May. But May has actually done an episode of Ubercube before where her and a good friend of hers named Cade went through and they talked about the idea of making this Yu-Gi-Oh! Meets Pokemon meets Magic the Gathering cube. Because they have the brain space for that, apparently. There's some kind of really broken cards that you can integrate into Magic and actually make these insanely busted environments, kind of like a party box.
Well, let's be clear, they're invested.
Like a Ricky Martin, if you had a Ricky Martin card, for example.
They're invested. May is a Magic player coming from Yu-Gi-Oh! Who also has some time to play Pokemon, apparently. I think she's kind of into all the weeds with those. And
that's insane.
I don't know. I don't know how people find... I barely have the time to play Magic the Gathering, let alone playing other TCGs and board games and card games with my family and eat breakfast and stuff like that. I don't know how people do it.
Well, before we proceed any further, we're going to go ahead and do our drinks.
To be fair, on that note, oh shit, yeah, sorry, you carry on. We got
to do our drink.
We got to do our drinks. This is an important ceremony or ritual that we must do. What do you have? And make something up if you don't.
I have a cold glass of Nature's Own, of God's clear water. I've been full of bugs I've had cold after cold after cold for 3 weeks. I've also got an almost 3-year-old daughter who brings all back home from nursery. So I'm not really in the mood for drinking at the moment. I also had 3 small ciders on. Was it Friday? What day is it? Saturday, Thursday night, and it just ruined my night. I was so tired. My wife was going to bed. I was like, play some video games. I was just knackered in my chair. I was like, no. So I'm off the booze a little bit now, trying to save some like sort of goodwill until we get to Christmas, where I can actually have a few
because I'm gonna snap my
piss
fingers
ups, as we
and I'm
call
going
them
to
in the
convert
UK.
it into a Macallan 25. Here we go. Now you have a Macallan 25. Enjoy it.
What the fuck's a Macallan 25 when it's at
Very
home?
expensive.
You know, it's funny that you mentioned that. I took my family out to dinner, and this was Thursday, I think, or Friday this week, and I had myself a Lagavulin 17 shot. It was like $27 for that, which is not too bad. A shot of the Macallan 25 was $200.
Yeah, I've had it before.
So if that gives you kind of a benchmark for the cost, what's a bottle of that? 15?
15K, 16K.
No, not for a Macallan 25.
Macallan 25? Are you out of your mind?
You get a shot for 200.
Yeah, that's at a bar. Do the math. How many shots you pouring there, brother? They're 1 ounce.
One.
All right. So we're having not a Macallan 25.
This is insane prices for booze.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, some of these things are chases. I mean, we could have a Pappy Van Winkle, too, if we're doing that, too. I tasted that once. That was $90 for a shot.
Chase rares? Like you have to like open a pack and look for them.
Yeah. Yeah, what are you having right now? Stu's going to pour us a chase rare, apparently.
I've got a Glenfiddich. It's a 12-year-old. I mean, this is a relatively... I would call this... You know what this is? You'll understand this. This is the Annie of scotches. Okay? It's been around forever.
This is sold in the UK. Like you've...
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Absolutely. Yeah. This is Annie, been around forever, right? Summoning Tibbers is always just so incredibly satisfying on max stacks where you get the five teams done. You know, and it's just it's reliable. That's what I'm going to call it. This is the Annie for all my league players. This is Annie.
Hey, I have a question for you real quick, and this is non-cube related. Stu hit us with a T-shirt recently to a bunch of, us American folk that don't know what he's talking about. Do you know what mind the gap means? Does that mean anything to you? Mind the gap? I gotta ask him. Does that because he?
Yeah, of course I do. It's a touristy phrase. Well, it's not a touristy phrase. It's what the overhead like comms stuff in the underground of London says to you when you're getting onto a tube train, because it says mind the gap as in don't put your foot through the gap where the train and the platform are. Anyway, that's become like iconically Londonish, and now it's on T-shirts and all sorts of shit which they sell to tourists. Yep. But really, it's just a safety message from the underground.
That's funny you should mention that because he didn't explain any of that and made us feel stupid. So
I literally explained it exactly like that. Exactly like that.
All right, let's do some cube stuff now. Now that we've got our 12-year-old baby. So I wanted to start out with a
Now
card.
we've talked about the most expensive whiskeys in the world or whatever.
Yeah.
Now let's talk about the good stuff.
Let's talk about the good stuff. I have a card here that I want to talk about, and it'll allude to it because I know this is an older card, but I didn't even know this card existed. Mycosynth Gollum, I said that right? Mycosynth?
Mycosynth.
Mycosynth.
Like Mycosynth Lattice, Mycosynth.
11 colorless artifact creature.
You're mentioning this because it's in one of my cubes.
I am.
Yes.
Affinity for artifacts. Affinity creature or artifact creature spells you cast have affinity for artifacts, and it says stop the party. Does not compute for a 4/5. So I was looking at this card because I kind of was looking at your space cube, and I saw on your Discord, by the way, and anybody listening to this, by the way, let's go ahead and do this right now. I'm just going to plug it. Join PK's Discord. Sign up for the Patreon. It's a fun party. It is. Why not? Like we've actually had a blast.
I was going to say the same thing. I am a Patreon. I am in the Discord. It is one of, and I'm not a heavy Discord chatter, but it might be my favorite lurking Discord of all the Discords that I'm on. And I'm not calling out my own because I love our Discord. I love my community.
Fun
a load of contrarians all like arguing in the main lobby.
But like I've enjoyed the cube chat in there, especially that in the milk parlor because things are. They're crazy in one, and the other one they're really grounded, and people are like great conversations are happening in the cube chat. And I'm going to stay there. I'm no longer.
I'm trying to grow the cubing community on the Discord. So it was a conscious plan earlier in the year before I had a bit of a break from content and work because of personal things. But I'm getting back to it because I wanted to get more people cubing digitally. So the cubes that I build, I can play them more regularly and I have to play them physically and such. Well, not that I wouldn't play them physically, but it's easier to play them digitally. So.
Yeah, I was going to say we recorded an episode a couple of months ago, 3 or 4 months ago. So I have cubes on Magic Online, and I know this is something that happens in other Discords as well. But I did actually post in your Discord. This was a few weeks ago, but we try and advertise it in ours as well. So I've got a Peasant cube as well as my Diablo cube, and I've got all the cards in Magic Online. So it's basically you come on, we draft on Draftmancer, and then we play on Magic Online. I trade all the cards to whoever's drafting, and then we move on. So that's like a fun, like little perk, if you will, for being in the Discord. So I'm selling, pay your dang $2 a month for PK's Patreon to all of our listeners.
Yeah, because we're going to start advertising it there to start pulling. We'll figure out where we can platform it at. Well, you and I can talk about that offline. But we can just get people together and start playing jamming some Cube, right? Yeah. We can cross the little oceans with Cube.
There we go.
Yeah, because we started doing draft months drafts, and then we moved to TTS, and you just use a table. You plug a URL in from Moxfield, which is holding your card list from your cube draft, and it just like spawns you a deck. We play it, and we played quite a few cubes of that. It's one of the first drafts of the Space Cube that you're mentioning, and Milk Cube happened, and that's where like the iterative work is happening before I physically commit to picking up all these stupid cards.
I love it.
Like a Golem. Oh, we got back to it. There we go. Segued back.
Segue back, Golem.
Listen. I want to talk about this card, but I also want to talk. I got to get this out here right now. The Milk Cube. So I've gone on the Cube Cobras and I've looked at your cubes and all that, and I'm looking and I see the Milk Cube, and the name immediately fascinates me. And I pull up the list, and I'm sitting and I'm doing that this morning, and tears are like streaming down my face. I'm like this cube is so white, it has a trust fund. Like it's going to Harvard. That's how white this cube is, and but I drafted it. It's fun as hell. Like, all the cards look interesting. Like, I want, like, that might be my next Magic Online project, is that cube, if I have your permission to build it, because it looks fun.
It's because we drafted it a few times, and originally I'd included like protection from white effects and stuff, because I was like, I can't be that bad. White's got a lot of ways to blow up artifacts and enchantments and similar. Turns out White's also got a lot of ways to recur said things. So you blow up a Sword of War and Peace, and then they just Sun Tone or Sophine's Reclamation it back, and you're like, So yes, it's a pet project of mine, because like obviously I've seen other monocolored cubes before, but White never gets the same love as the other colors. And I think White's also got quite diverse play patterns, like tap out control, counters, tokens, aggro, so on and so on. So yeah, I'm trying to get that built up, and it's going to be. The thing is, I haven't decided yet whether I want to get it down to a 540. That's one of the big things where I'm like, should I shrink this down, or should I let it get out of control and be like a 600, 700 card cube, and it's just a bit of variance and RNG as to whether you open the right parts and stuff.
It's not combo based. So you're not going to not open the combo. Either side of that. Do you want? This once you start breaking. So 360, you get tighter lists, you get tighter responses. Archetypes are more easily formed. But if that's not required, and I don't feel like that's 100% required in monocolored cubes as much, they can be more loose, I guess is what I'm saying. Mm-hmm. So our good friend David is about to complete the entire circle. He's already got a mono white cube. He's got the green, the red, the black. He's currently working on a blue cube right now as we speak. That's his vibe, is playing monocolored deck. So, and it's interesting.
He's a filthy aggro player.
Well, it's fascinating to actually see how much you can actually derive from a monocolored cube. Like, there are a lot of layers in a singular color in Magic, and I have found this fascinating to watch him kind of develop and grow these cubes.
Even green, and I'll be very honest, I was not expecting a whole lot out of green, because I loved green from back in the day, but I feel like green is maybe the most stale color in Magic, and actually people are going to hate me for saying this, but maybe followed by blue. I feel like Simic are probably the two most stale colors. I feel like black is very interesting, white is very interesting, red has a lot of cool stuff going on, blue it's like okay, I don't know, but green surprised the heck out of me. I loved it.
Back to this silly golem that I kind of alluded to. I only did it as a segue to kind of pull into your cubes, and I believe he is frozen.
Sure. No, I'm here. I'm listening intently.
He's got the sexiest looking Jeff Goldblum pose going on right now. Get a picture and send
I was stroking my beard.
You have to see this. You're literally doing a Jeff Goldblum on camera right now. We'll get this for you. We'll send this over. You're going to want to put this on your mantelpiece.
I'm just capturing that.
Shirt slightly open.
Oh yeah. It's like somewhere between Precious Moments and Jeff Goldblum. But what I was kind of alluding to is just to segue into the idea of your cube development. I saw recently that you posted something about, you had a question about artifacts, and you had a question about balancing the hate towards artifacts, and I responded in your Discord. Did you get a chance to read that? And it's okay if you say no.
I did read it. I did indeed. I think I didn't acknowledge it. That was actually just a fault on my part, 'cause I was deep in the minds of, because basically I've decided not, instead of reiterating on Space Cube, I've scrapped it as such. I'm using the original base list as like recommendations, but I'm building Space Cube 2 because I put it together before Edge of Eternity's dropped.
Yeah.
And now I've decided that actually I need to almost revamp the entire thing, because of it. Both Edge of Eternities and Final Fantasy both bring so much that like sort of change it.
Oh, yeah. I mean, like Edge of Eternities in particular, for anybody that runs an Artifact Cube environment. What I responded to is you were kind of asking what, in so many words, like the ballast point for direct removal of an artifact and or an enchantment, and how do I work that within my cube. And I was giving you my best sage advice, we'll call it that, from my own personal experiences of having an artifact cube. And ultimately, to distill it down, I gave you a number count, gave you a multiplier because I'm at 360. You said you wanted to go to 540. Anybody that joins PK's Discord, you'll actually be able to see this conversation kind of happening. But the gist was, I was trying to say in so many words, because it's really hard to balance something that is colorless, say with a card like Mycosynth Golem, for example. That's why I alluded to that, in terms of like disenchants and naturalizes or any of the ilk that actually takes these out. And my overarching response was allow them to thrive. That's my sage advice that I was kind of trying to offer you as a person that's, you know, gotten their teeth kicked in at now 4 CubeCons where I've had players way better than me kind of give me this sage advice, is to let them live. So when you're doing this new cube that you're working on, my only little piece of info was let it happen, right? Let fetch happen.
Yeah, that was something I considered a little bit, because basically at Cube Clash, which is our growing UK event that I went to last weekend, I played in the Treat Yourself Cube, which is very fun. The second Cube Clash I played in, I 3-0'd it. So this isn't like a bad beat story, but in this one I went 1-2, got absolutely smashed. And I still had this feeling like I wasn't really getting to treat myself, because I was trying to do stupid food token synergies, and one of my opponents played Unstoppable Slasher into the 4-mana dragon that makes illusion hasty dragons when you cast spells. And then on turn 5 cast a 3-dot spell and a 2-dot spell, and I just died. I was just dead. I was like, oh wow, do you feel like you're treating yourself playing these hasty aggro mythics and unstoppable slashes? And he was like, well, I'm treating myself to a win. And I was like, well, that doesn't feel like what the cube's environment should be.
Yeah.
So that cube itself has sort of kind of made me start thinking about how, if you give people this idea that they can go into a cube and build a science fiction artifact deck, and then they get blown out by multiple different versions of Shattering Spree and Meltdown and stuff, then it's kind of brutal and very unfun. So that was something I was really worried about. But at the same time, I also don't want people just to feel that they can't draft the non-artifact deck in the Space Cube. I want there to be an incentive to play the non-artifact deck, but maybe I need to find more of a carrot than a stick.
Yeah, no, I agree with you 100%. One of the things that I actually kind of explained for a little bit of, I guess, context for our listeners and for PK's listeners was, again, 4 times over in the various CubeCons, right? We were there at the inception, very first CubeCon, all the way to the very last CubeCon. Now, the Uber Bears Artifact Cube has been in all of them. And in the first one, I definitely had about 5 times the number of disenchants and naturalizes and all the different things that do that blows up artifacts. And what I found was people leaned into Selesnya, found out that they were playing that and actually drafting cards that were impervious to the idea of these disenchants. And I couldn't quite figure out where this was coming from. What was the foundation for people playing this type of methodology?
Well, it's Mirrodin draft strategy, right?
It's Mirrodin. Yeah, it's Mirrodin and all those type Fifth Dawns and all this, and these whole time period of Magic that I actually skipped. I didn't understand that, where they would draft, I don't know, a big dumb dinosaur that's not an artifact, and then draft disenchants because the set might have been built around the idea of disenchants, blowing things up. It was the premium removal suite.
Yeah, every time Mirrodin came back to Modo, you would log on and draft green for your first couple of drafts, and everyone else is trying to play these artifact decks, and your creatures can't be killed. Half of them hate on their stuff, and you just smash them 3-0 drafts because green had that sort of. I'm not saying that was the best deck in the format. I'm pretty sure if you go back and look at Pro Tour data, it probably wasn't. But if you're playing against unexperienced or newer players to those things, those strategies are brutal. So yeah, that I was thinking that as well when I was going into it. Do I put all these Mirrodin hate cards in and stuff? But
kind of goes back to what you said about this. I'm curious to see this Sweet Treats cube, right? And in the promise of the name, right? And what you took from the promise. It doesn't matter what the designer intended. Not really. Doesn't matter. It's kind of that reader-writer relationship we talked about where that person presented this idea of, well, however you interpreted sweet treats. And in this case, it sounded like, well, I'm going to play something fun, janky, in my vibe, in my lane. And then it sounds like you got beat by something that was outside of the impression of what sweet treats was. And then to kind of retort to what the person said, my sweet treat is to win. The curator can't predict that, right? But they can do things to prop these decks up. They can do stuff to try to balance the equation a little better so that you can have your version of sweet treats, because that's what they're implying. And for you, sweet treats are what?
Ferrero Rocher.
Yeah,
we've already established that. Ferrero Rocher are the sweet treats. Okay. Yes.
So you can kind of see where there's a dichotomy there as a curator, and you're getting to get a little sample of that. So I'm trying to do that cultural exchange across the Atlantic Ocean here to give you my little experience.
The thing is, though, if your sweet treats are Ferrero Rocher, let's say your sweet treats Ferrero Rocher is a Panharmonicon deck, it's a Nuka-Cola vending machine deck, it's a deck which hinges around 4 and 5 mana artifacts or enchantments, right? That's your Ferrero Rocher. And then the player, the person, the one of the 8 at the table who ends up drafting aggro, because weirdly your Go Big Commander Cube has an aggro archetype, they end up being the person who instead is making everyone else eat their vegetables. So you want to eat your Ferrero Rocher, but you can't because someone is ramming carrots, parsnips, and other vegetables down your throat with their 1-drop, 2-drop, 3-drop, 4-drop kill you. And then, as a curator, you got to deal with that because that's the thing that people will do, right? The people are there to 3-0 the draft, especially if there's a top 8 or a playmat or a trophy or a pin. So then, do you remove the aggro archetype? Do you lessen it? Do you weaken it? Do you stack the entire cube full of removal and things that then blunt the aggro deck's options? I do sometimes wonder if the aggro archetype is something that curators of the Treat Yourselves, what was the Modo Commander Cube called?
Wasn't that the Live the Dream? Wasn't that
Live the Dream? David
cube?
McDarby had an idea that was kind
Live
of
the Dream.
similar.
It was the Dream.
It was the Live the Dream. It was David's Live the Dream. Yeah,
but aggro serves a purpose. I don't want to go too much down the rabbit hole of anti-aggro because you're going to get Stu on a tirade that will last the entire episode.
Well, yes. The problem is that it becomes the benchmark.
I'm not anti-aggro. I think in certain environments, aggro can be not only a fun police, but almost like a fun disruptor.
Well, it can be, but that fun is highly subjective. As that one person said, my sweet treat is to win. You can't come into a game locked and loaded not knowing that they're turning off their, this, right? Their competitive nature and whatnot. But we just did an interview with our good friend Shoop, who has the 6-color Calamity Cube. And his cube is basically legacy vintage, for lack of better terms, and then mix in Eldrazi. And I asked a very similar question that you're kind of presenting. How are you incentivizing me to draft these Eldrazi? And his answer was, the sweet treats of the Eldrazi need to be tempting enough that the cards have to have some way of curving into getting these massive Eldrazi that you want to pursue this type of gameplay, opposed to the idea of just playing the staples, right? The preordains, the counterspells, the goblin guys.
Well, hang on. We're talking about aggro. Let's take a step back. The problem is not necessarily that aggro exists or that it can be a police or whatever. In my opinion, we'll go even further step back. My problem with aggro is there is way too much very, very good support for aggressive white-red in particular, and we can talk about the Modo and even the Arena Cube metrics that we talked about a few episodes ago. There is so much support, and it's so easy to build a deck that is aggressive in those colors that I got to say it's got to be kind of difficult for a curator, regardless of what kind of cube that you're building. You have so many options, and it's almost become like the default for, I want to make sure that the combo decks, I want to make sure that the mid-range decks, I want to make sure that other, control decks or whatever are kept in check by aggro. And regardless of whatever stipulations or restrictions you put on yourself, it's so difficult to keep those aggro decks in check because of how much quality of the card choices there are.
Absolutely. But I also think people, Yeah, people are married to the idea that aggro has to be supported. Even like,
Exactly,
I
100%.
think like in a vintage cube, in a power cube, in the mono white cube that I'm building, the space cube or whatever, that those all should have aggro decks, 100%. But you don't have to go into a cube environment or any game design environment and support all of the archetypes that have gone before. Like if you were doing a treat yourself, or you're doing a live the dream, or you're doing do your big splashy commander plays, but with a 40 card deck and a 20 card life and 1v1, then I don't know why you have to. Vagavan kind of fits because Vagavan does everything and enables everything, so that's probably a bad example. But like unstoppable slashers, fear of missing out, like any of your like ridiculously powerful aggro creatures from modern day, Guts is a really good example of a card that ruins all cubes that it goes into. You know, and I love that card, but it's dumb, right? But like, so these cards don't make sense in a live the dream cube unless living the dream is just playing conventional Magic, which is not what living the dream or dreaming myself sounds like. No. If we're gonna play conventional Magic, there's like powered and unpowered environments that are like. So what I'm saying is you don't have to put all the fucking aggro staples into your cube if you're trying to incentivize people to slam 5 mana enchantments like together to create stupid combos or whatever.
No, I
but
agree.
everyone
I
seems to still do it.
Yes, put that on a t-shirt, please, on a poster. Put it behind me. We're putting that out there.
And that's not saying that aggro shouldn't exist. That's just saying that certain environments necessarily don't need it.
Again, I'm going to quote our good friend Shoop, and shout out to Shoop. We just did an episode recording with him last night, and I think he articulated what we were trying to say so eloquently. Like, he actually took cube down, distilled it down to 3 steps. And he said step 1 was your creation phase. Step 2 was your curation phase. And step 3 was your refinement phase. And we're spoiling an episode that's going to come out post this episode. But the gist of what he's saying is during the creation phase is when you're brainstorming, you put together your list. And then the second phase is your curation, when you're starting to kind of cut and add and, you know, you're figuring out this doesn't work and, you know, slop and whatnot. And then the refinement phase in context of like spoilers is what we're going to talk about. Again, spoiling an episode. But what he's saying is that's the point where your cube is stable. And only time you're really going to go back to number 2 in that phase, that kind of 1, 2, 3 steps, is whenever you have to revert back and you're actually changing like an archetype out. You start getting refinement. When I hear something like Treats Cube, it sounds amazing to me. But what I'm hearing is that that person's leading into staples, leading into this idea that which we all have been guilty of, myself included. I'm literally throwing myself under the bus, going back to Uberbear's Artifact Cube, CubeCon number 1. I've got a bunch of artifacts. I must have to have this whole anti-artifact package. This was that, for me, my personal naivety. Is that your
aggro package now? It's like somewhat adjacent to that, because we've got a card up right now. What is that card? It's beautiful. It's got a big orange sword. It's Mycosynth Golem. We talked about it at the start of the episode. I want that to have as much relevance and as much of a win rate and as much of a demand during the draft stage for any white/red or combination thereof of creatures that is going to aggressively push players towards winning games.
Every cube, in my opinion, by the virtue, is always going to have an aggro package. Doesn't matter if it starts on turn 3 or 4. If it's your most aggressive package, it is your aggro package. Every cube is going to have, whether or not they intend to do it or not, a certain element of live the dream. The golem that we're talking about, like the one card that cost 11 that is the dream, is the path, the one thing I want to pull off, that sweet treat, as you mentioned, that we want to pull off, right? There's no way. It's always
but that's slightly different though, right? That like having an aspiration to do a new thing that you've not seen before is different to a cube. And by the way, I do like the treat yourself cube. Like I've played it twice and I did enjoy it more the first time, but so I'm not completely ragging on this here. It's called Treat Yourself, not Sweet Treats. But anyway, surely it's different to have a pie in the sky build around card that you open in your first pack, like a Mycosynth Golem, right? That's a thing that happens in all draft environments and all cubes in theory. That's a bit different to cubes that come up and say, this isn't like your normal cube. This is where you treat yourself or you live the dream or do these wild things. That's like a different mission statement straight away, right? Yeah. So all cubes have those things that you aspire to do, but and you should be able to do them, I guess. Like Mycosynth Golem, if that card is not good enough, then it might lead you down. If you take that in your first pack and you can't draft Affinity, then you've been lied to, haven't you, in your first pack? And I think that comes with mission statements and build around cards, right?
Yes.
I would, but even in the Live the Dream cube by our good friend David McDarby, I played it with him and Justin Parnell, and I decided one day, I've talked about this in other episodes, we were in, SEG Charlotte, and I said, you know what, I'm going there, I'm going to sweep the rug out underneath them, I'm going to get these folks. And I show up and I draft Luris. Luris is a Live the Dream, air quotes, but it's really aggressive. And everything about Luris is what brings back 2-drops or something that's 2-drop or less, right? You can really form this highly aggressive package underneath it, even though it is a dream, right? As far as McDarby's concerned,
it's not living the dream though, is it? I can't agree with that. Luris is just the most power crept bollocks we've ever seen. Right? Like, Luris is just like, no matter what deck you play in any format, Luris is probably good if you can play it.
Yeah.
And if you're like, is it living the dream to recur your Lotus Petals or Black Lotus Vintage Cube? No, it's just you're playing the best creature that's ever done that role or task, right? That's living the dream. And then correct me if I'm wrong, but it feels like it's like fucking making a Paranomicon, then casting a 5-drop creature like a Cloud Goat Ranger, making 6 1/1s, and then turn those 1/1s into food with something else, and then turn your food into damage or something like that. It's not playing Ragavan, Luris, Unstoppable Slasher, fucking.
Yes.
Even Urza Lord High Artificer. There's a dreamlike quality to how strong he is, but I'd almost argue like he's so efficient and good at what he does. That's almost like you can just build. If you can build a powered cube like deck within one of these like bombastic cubes, that's almost like a fault, because if someone builds that deck, their deck is just markedly better than what everyone else is doing, where they're just like trying to combine random Lord of the Rings legends to do silly things.
Yeah,
you know?
and I will argue.
Sorry,
I will argue. Do you remember what I drafted? I drafted odd mana.
it was so good.
Odd mana. That was it. That was my restriction.
It was that command that says whenever you do an odd, I can't remember what it was.
I don't know if it was even
a Sphinx.
It was something like, when it does combat damage to a player, you can reveal the top card of your library, and if it has an odd CMC or an odd mana value, you can cast it for free. Got to play multiple Emrakul the Promised Ends for free. Multiple. I'm doing like that is a dream.
Way more dreamlike than Luris.
Way more dream.
It's just ironic because Luris is called like the Dream Den, and in reality, it's just. Also, I'm just looking at the Dream list right now. Luris appears to have been cut.
Yeah, it has.
Weirdly.
It has. But I'm enjoying this conversation as what you don't get to see is what we get to see is that as we're debating with you, we stare at this like sexy 1980s glamour shot of Jeff Goldblum.
It's like Magnum PI.
It's like Magnum, somewhere between Magnum PI, right?
On our show, we have Magnum PI.
Can you bump your camera?
It's very sexy.
It's sexy. I mean, I'm telling you.
Is the audio coming through clearly though? Because if I'm freezing up on that, then we're fucked.
Oh my gosh, no! It sounds. It's
fantastic. The audio is
perfection.
perfect. We're just looking at this like postcard that I want to print, but don't worry, I'm going to post.
So
it
yeah, I do know what you mean. Like there are certain cards that do like incredible things, and you want to build around them. And like it's like when you play like a vintage cube with someone who's newish to Magic, and they get to play with Lotus or Time Walk for the first time or whatever. That's kind of a dreamlike quality for them, right? That exists in all high-powered environments. I think that's just very different to what the Live the Dream / Treat Yourself style cubes are trying to do. They're not saying come play with this powerful card for the first time. They're saying do the audacious thing. And I think Luris is audacious, but it's not the audacious thing. I'm talking in very airy-fairy terms here, right? But it's the thing that we've all done and is too good.
So, Treat Yourself, do you feel like, well, one, have you spoken to the curator openly about this with your feedback? That's my question.
Yes. Well, the first time around, yes, he was at Cube Clash. That's why I feel so dirty doing this. Like, I haven't spoken to him since Cube Clash because he wasn't there. So I'm not giving him too much.
No, we're not giving him that. It's raw sentiment. So
yeah.
I mean, we all got to take it.
The Cube is legitimately very fun, and I think people should play it.
Okay, but if you were
he's got videos on the Cube and everything. His YouTube channel is like Powerful Nothing.
Powerful. Okay.
We
got to get him on.
We got to get
him on.
Yeah. I know exactly who you're talking about. That's an amazing show.
Yeah.
He's a great guy.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. They know what they're doing. Okay, so they know what they're doing.
He's great.
That's good context. So the next thing that I have for you in regards to like that cube, if you were going to make some changes from the player standpoint, because you got a player relationship versus a curator standpoint, right? You took this name and you ran with this name, and this name meant something to you. Do you feel like there's something in the name that implied more than what you actually what happened to you, or are there certain cards, certain aspects? That
exactly. I think my expectations were off, right? My expectations or plans were off, and that was also on me because like I could have looked over the cube list before I started drafting. Like I drafted it previously a year prior, like almost to the day. So I had drafted it before. I was like, I know what this is, and I started drafting again. Then had a similar feeling where last time around I think I was smashing people with something similar and saying I don't feel like I'm treating myself here. I feel like I'm smashing my opponent trying to do cool things. Yeah, it's just mission statements and names are weird, and they can be difficult to line up with what the player is expecting.
Oh yeah,
especially if that player's been lazy like myself and not looked at the cube list or full write-up.
This is actually something that's come up in our group recently, like how evocative a name almost has to be nowadays. Like, if you ever think about it, roll back 10 years ago, it would have said, like, this is my cube. Well, what's in your cube? Well, there's some, legacy staples or whatever. You really didn't have to define it, really didn't have to name. And then through the advent of something like CubeCon, suddenly... And Cube Cobra is part of this too, right? Suddenly online comes the TLDR, the names, the summaries.
All the
archetypes explaining
here's what you can expect,
whether or not you're going to read
draft.
It. And then thematic cube design, and you start going down because if I could roll back time, I wouldn't call it Uber Bear's Artifact Cube, but it became known based on that name and what we've done, right? But it's not an evocative name. I could call it 1,000 things. I remember when I first named that cube, PK, it was like Uber Bear's Artifact Emporium, which felt like a mouthful, and I didn't want to be bothered with it, but it also still implies the idea that you should only expect to see artifacts, and then people derive from that, they distill it down, they go, well, that's going to be kind of like Myriadan-esque, right? I should really expect like a lot of artifacts. You really shouldn't have Counterspell in there, and Preordain, and Ponder, and Force of Will, and I can keep going down the list of all these, Gut even, right? Anything that's like a vintage cube staple, because the name itself tethers you, binds you to a player.
Yeah, I don't know about that. I actually think that some of those, the reactive cards are actually the cards that I worry less about, if you will, like the very proactive, super strong, like PK mentioned, the Ragavans, the Urzas, like those are the proactive cards that win games. The reactive cards can be the ones that can kind of rein things in and can allow those live the dream kind of scenarios to be able to play out. Because, like I say, if you're trying to draft like something super powerful and very low to the ground versus someone who's trying to again live that dream, then you kind of need that live the dream player to be able to respond to that super aggressive, well, I'm just going to play Ragavan into Lelia or into Broadside Bombardiers. Maybe that's a cube list issue, but I feel like you still need those checks and balances for some of those decks.
Well, the reason why I brought up at the beginning of the episode again to reiterate that Mycosynth Golem that we're talking about, based on this last CubeCon experience, some players said, why don't you have the idea of affinity in your artifact cube? Going back to the roots of the expectation of the name, the implications that come with tethering or the baggage or all the above. I called it Uber Bear's Artifact Cube. Why aren't you running these things that I should expect in Mirrodin,
the fact
Kaladesh?
That affinity wasn't in there, like when you told me that, I was baffled. I thought there's no way that there's not affinity
because it's not great
in an artifact.
But I don't want to go down this rabbit hole. A lot of them aren't great.
But
that card is great, and I overlooked it, and that's the reason why I highlighted it.
I don't want to be on what you said because there's a problem with cubes that want to play huge, powerful 8 drops, 11 drops, or whatever. Golem's a weird one because if you've got a lot of cheap artifacts, it's not 11, right? But if you're doing that, and then someone counterspells it for 2 mana, or plows it for 1, or even vindicates it for 3, you feel really blown out. So then those cubes switch the other way, where they make the you change like vindicate for anguish on make it, not anguish on make it, utter end, or even higher. You start to push everything in the CMC higher. Yeah, but then the problem is if you do accidentally have a good viable aggro archetype, the players cannot respond and kill it fast enough because all your answers now cost more because they're trying to play into the 6, 7, and 8 mana things. So it becomes a really difficult tension, and that's kind of just like a balancing / reactive play thing. But that is definitely a problem for those style of audacious cubes.
Yeah. You know how I answered you with like a formulaic response to your removal for your sci-fi cube? I have an architecture or a formulaic response for a lot of these things. I always do my removal -2, -3 from my threats that I want to survive. We talked about this in previous episodes. These are kind of like, I'm not saying that I'm right. I'm saying that these methodologies and what I've learned. So like if my threats or my threshold or the biggest dream that I'm offering you is at 8, then I really want to pace my removal around 5. I don't want to sweep you out 1, 2. 3 is really starting a big red line on the idea. 4 is probably a lot more casual. There's a healthy exchange that happens between you and I if I'm playing you, and you play an 8 drop and I remove it with a 4 drop type removal spell or a 5 drop. That you don't give me, the stink eye, right? That we're looking at again on camera, this beautiful Jeff Goldblum pose that we're staring at right now. But that's just kind of a formulaic response. I do a lot of math breaks out, like a dot matrix type idea when I do my cube designs where, and again, I've talked about this on other episodes, I have this whole matrix-like idea of cube design, like this formulaic math that I'll have to share with you offline here on how I balance that equation. That kind of works.
That's interesting, right? Because in the audacious cubes, that's what I'm calling them, the big ones, you do that, and then if you have things slip through, if you have an inti that you play into any overstated green 3 drop, you're going to die. If you play an unstoppable slasher like I had to play against, and I don't want to block with either of my engine creatures that are doing the dream thing, so I just die. Like, at that point, your overcosted removal is allowing people to fly under the radar, and that's kind of what I was getting at originally, is that you have to then adjust your aggro deck. Your aggro deck has to look or feel different in a way.
Yes, so, and I will say...
Also, I've got... Oh, go on, Stu. I'll let you say something.
Let me say this. I will say, after hours and hours and hours, and I cannot express in too finite detail how many hours I've spent on really trying to refine my removal for a cube where I want the kind of living the dream aspect to be the predominant feature, right? So again, the Diablo cube, I've got Limdul the Necromancer. It's a 7-mana creature. It's not a good creature, but it's so live the dream. It's so much fun if you can make that happen. The removal is either far too good or it's absolutely awful. It's either too good or too bad.
The sweet spot for removal, and I didn't mean for this to become a removal episode.
It is now.
No matter on the scale of 1 to 8, let's do 1 to 8 as a mana threshold, right? Let's go from Ragavan to, well, actually take it to 11. Let's go to this Golem that we're doing that'll have a reduced cost. The sweet happy spot, the margin of error that I have found as a designer, as a curator, is the number 3 and 4. There's so much perfection in the idea of murder. Like the card Murder. Was it 2 black and 1 colorless?
2 black and a colorless, yeah.
Or Hero's Downfall if you're running Planeswalkers. No one ever has gripe about these 2 cards. Where people start having gripe is Path to Exile, Swords to Plowshares. People or Bolt.
I would disagree massively, and the reason is because if the cube is in a position whereby those live the dream kind of like, here's how I want you to enjoy my cube, and they're 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, whatever CMC, and your removal is at 3, and especially if you've got any way to generate board presence and aggression and threat that is around that area, why are you including those?
I'm going to push back. This one I'm passionate about. 3, 4, and 5 are your sweet spots, plus or minus 2 on that array. So you can either go backwards or forwards in time on that whole spectrum, right? On elimination of these threats. When you start going to these Mycosynth Golem or whatever, PK, when we're looking at that, I'm looking at this from the idea that that's bombastic. Like, this is a dream. I know it's got affinity, and I know this can give all your... But it's still a dream, right? You're curating your whole cube around... It's a couple of central peak points of your cube, right? It's a card that has relevance. It's important to you as the curator in the sci-fi cube. You want this thing to pop. You want it to happen. Something about the exchange, not only the card equity, but as far as like the personal exchange that you and I would have as opponents, I never see anybody get salty, mad, or aggravated with the number 3, 4, and 5 on that removal suite. If I Hero's Downfall this card, I don't see a negative exchange. Do you agree with that statement, PK?
I think with most of Golem, it's a bit different because if someone's made a load of treasures, it's going to cost them like 3 mana. But if we look at like another 11 drop that isn't going to be cost reduced and played cheaper, then It's hard. Probably not, because we've all been kind of brainwashed into thinking about one mana removal. That's probably why I'd say like it's different. And the funny thing is, in the space queue at the moment, there's a space themed plowshares and a space themed Path of Exile, and I'm sat here thinking, God, these cards are too fucking good compared to the shit creatures we're playing. But so probably not. But I do think if someone was playing raw dog 11 mana until 11, and someone then went, "Well, here's my 7-drop, and I kill your 11-drop,"
yeah,
they'd probably be like,
I have to.
So. And here's sort of the dichotomy of that. This is, in essence, and I don't mean to shit on your cube or your card choices or whatever, but this is, in essence, a pretty awful card. It's 11 mana, regardless of whether or not you can reduce it by 4 or reduce it by 5 or reduce it by 7 even, or 8. Let's say you reduce it by 8. You play it for 3 mana. It is a 4/5, and that is no joke, but it doesn't do anything the turn it comes into play. Right? It has no ETB effect. It has no
make sure
LTB
other
effect.
creatures have affinity.
It gives that effect. But
Once it's
not
resolved,
like,
you get to cast another creature.
you can, right? But you have to. It's conditional, right? In a way. Let me just. I'll put that as there are conditions to how strong this card can be, right? So even if.
Sure, absolutely.
Right, and that's kind of where I would put my
For the listener at
benchmark.
home, by the way, I'm not saying this card is good. Hell, I
think
wouldn't
it's
even
incredible.
talk about this card if it wasn't for Stu today.
I think it's incredible. I love this card. I love cards like this, that if I pick this or if I see this in my pick one, pack one, whatever, I see a card like this, these are the kind of cards that I want to draft around. I want to do everything within my power during this draft and during the game to make this card work. That's just the kind of player that I am. I know there's other players that I play with that have that similar mindset. They see something like this and they say, this is fucking awesome. I want this to work. And then I also have players that will be like, oh, that looks cool. Oh, but look, there's Lurrus. And oh, look, there's Ragavan, right? And this is where it's so difficult, not just as a cube curator, but also with the choices that you make based on the card designs that Wizards have put out. It's so difficult to make this
But
work.
we just need to stop playing those fucking cards
Aggro.
in our cubes,
Aggro.
though.
Just stop making aggro cards. Just
No,
stop.
I disagree with you both strongly. Just put in Goblin Welder. This card slaps. Put in
Yes, but then you
Metal
need,
Worker.
But
This
then
card
you
slaps.
need Goblin Welder.
I'm
and you
actually-
need, there's
So
again, it's all conditions that
The
you're putting on to
the
make
gag
something
reel
good.
for both of you is I didn't know this card existed until I saw you talking about this. Again, plugging your Discord and your Patreon, sign up for PK's Patreon, is whenever I went in there and I saw you talking about this card, I'm like, what the hell is this card? This card actually interests the hell out of me. Like this, I want my artifact cube to be a machine. I do have aggro in there. And I'm okay with people trying to do this. And I think players need to reconcile and be okay with maybe this doesn't work out, right? You can literally get this killed with a naturalize or a disenchant.
I was going to say, can you imagine this in iteration 1 where it's like you've got Naturalize or Unravel the Ether or whatever the plethora of anti-artifact cards are?
There's so many cards that I actually, so back to the sci-fi cube that you're designing, how I could go on this for hours. Like if we had 10 hours to talk about this, PK, I could. We could wax lyrical for hours. The way I've solved this problem is, so I invested 11 mana in this, and you've got, let's just hypothetically, let's give you, I don't know, Path to Exile. Let's give you a Hero's Downfall. I don't care. How I've went about solving this fragile card that's actually like a Live the Dream concept, is I put in cards like Protect the Rider. I put in cards that give protection temporarily. This has been my solution to allow the dream to persist, and that volley, that interchange, like those are memory-making situations. You play this card, you flop this card, you start getting busy with the idea of affinity for artifacts in your sci-fi cube. I'm excited about that, but I don't want to lose. I don't want to lose to you. I don't want to lose to anybody. So I'm going to go ahead and try to remove some of your stuff. I've got a Fistful of Removal. I'm playing Golgari Removal. And I'm going to Hero's Downfall this. I feel like this is a threat. And you respond with Protect the Rider. I can't be mad about that. If I'm mad about that, then I'm just NaCl out the gate anyways. It's all about attitude. It's all about perspective. This card is a Live the Dream. I don't think you should cut these things from your sci-fi cube. I think this is an embodiment of a dream. If the Ragavans of the world and anything...
No, this will 100% make it. He's got a laser sword. That's
It's a
more
laser
important
sword.
than it was
I
like
want
text
this
on
card.
his,
Amazing.
in his
and it's
box.
got a robot
If anything,
mohawk.
he will force me to make the removal worse in the
Yes.
format. But again, I've got to make the list, then cut down, decide whether I'm cutting. Like Urza will probably end up in the short list because constructs
Urza
is
needs to not be in your list, but I can give you that one. Look at my artifact cube.
But also, yes,
it's a hard one. Like you're taking on a hard project, so anybody that takes on a kind of like a colorless centric project is taking on a lot of burden, right? We've got this color pie that we all kind of lean into for the most part outside of like a questing beast. Most of these cards are pretty predictable. We kind of talked about at the beginning of the episode about the monocolored cubes and what you expect out of a green cube.
Well, this is why I say green is kind of, God bless David for
you all have
his
color
efforts.
pie assumptions, but whenever you take on a project like this, well, it's hard to chart a course here, right?
I'm going to push back and I'm going to disagree. I think there is so much support for artifacts this is 2025. We actually talked about this on one of our previous episodes. Treasures, foods, like the amount of artifacts that are very, very, very easy to create nowadays in modern Magic. I actually think that this is a card that, if you'd have asked me this question a few years ago, I would have said 11 mana just because it's got affinity for artifacts.
Possibly
Absolutely
more.
unplayable. But now, this is relevant. It's still very Live the Dream. It's still very difficult.
And it's
but
exciting.
at least
This is an exciting
Of course
card.
it is. It's unbelievable. You get to put...
this card has got easier and easier to cast every
Exactly.
single year because
Yes.
they put in so many treasure, clue, and food
there may be a
production cards.
point where that tilts, right? But right now, back to your treat yourself idea, this is treating yourself, right? You can have a little bit of these dark chocolate Godiva in here every once in a while.
You can only treat yourself.
Curators should feel like it's okay to test the boundaries a little bit.
But you can only treat yourself, let's be real, you can only treat yourself if you either do not have this suite of, I don't even care, the 3 mana removal at a point where 11 CMC, regardless of the cost reduction possibilities, is going to make a feel bad for someone who drafts a deck knowing that this is a central part of what they're trying to do, as well as any other cube where you're trying to put your top end kind of live the dreamy experiences and where you're just going to ruin it with removal and with aggro that's going to get out of control in the first 3 or 4
I
turns.
guess we do need to like differentiate the living the dreaming audacious cards a little bit when talking about removal. So for example, in this case, it's an 11 drop that if you play a tireless tracker on turn 3 and then a fetch land on turn 4, make a whirler rogue, you're now reducing by 4, so it costs what's that? 11 minus 4 is 7. And then you can play another artifact that makes 2 more tokens. You can cost on turn 5 or 6 quite easy. This thing is very easy to cost reduce in the modern landscape of Magic, especially if your cube supports it.
Yeah.
However, you play it, you get priority before they kill it, and you can now cast. Say you got 5 artifacts in play, a 5-drop precursor golem for free. Right? You can do things like that with it. But that said, if you don't have a thing to really do with it, and you go to combat and they kill it, it's dead. But if someone casts like a 7-man like Astral Dragon and it ETB triggers and copies 2 things that you control, it makes like 3 versions of like your other nonsense. Then whether or not the Hero's Downfall or Plowshares, it doesn't matter too much because it's part of the modern card design of Magic, right? Yeah. It's the post M11 where they're like, oh, everything's got like a Titan trigger on it. So if you play a 6-drop, it's going to make you at least 4 mana's worth of value or whatever, or 3 mana's worth of value. Yeah. So if it does get Hero's Downfall, which was not long after M11, you still get some value out of it, right? So Mike's of Golem is very much, if we're using that as an example, a card from a stable of cards that came out like 15 years ago. This card is of old school design where it doesn't, if this got printed today, it would ETB and it'd make a food, a clue, and a treasure or some shit. It'd do something extra, right?
Yes.
It will draw you a card. It'd do something else.
Yep.
So we do have to differentiate that because killing an Astral Dragon with a Hero's Downfall is astronomically less feel bads than having your 11 mana 4/5 killed. Right?
Well, this is the part
like
where
that is categorically different.
this is again another commercial break where Sarah McLachlan comes in and says, "In the arms of the Patreons." So you should join PK's Patreon so you can check this out because I think there's actually some conversations to be had here. I'm going to keep doing that for you, brother. So. Man, I'm going to draw back a little bit. This is the reason why, and you probably saw this in your Discord where I've been kind of talking about this Black Parade concept, right? I've been pushing the heck out of that, where I'm pulling Magic back to the idea of where Jace the Mind Sculptor is the peak of Magic, right? And we can play DRS and all these different ideas, and they don't feel so out of place in terms of post what's the year I'm looking for, PK? Like 2021?
20
I've had a hard time describing this.
2017,
when did
2018.
Magic start kind of tilting to? We have
2018.
Firstly, I do think your two examples are a little wild there, my friend. Like, as in, like, if someone plays a turn 1 Deathrite Shaman to me in most cubes, I'm like, oh, fuck, I probably need to kill that, right? And also, Jace doesn't see a lot of constructed play anymore, but like a turn 3 uncontested Jace the Mind Sculptor probably means you're incredibly behind on board.
Yes.
So whilst I appreciate they're both like artifacts of a previous era, Deathrite Shaman's currently banned in Legacy. The card is fucking insane, right? DRS is probably one of the few cards that doesn't have this issue, right? But yes, and the year you're looking for is like Throne of Eldraine onwards, when Fire Design came in, and they're like, wham, bam, here's Oko, Questing Beast, Once Upon a Time. Oh, we've done Companions, and you can cast them for free, and they're always a card in your opening hand because we're fucking insane. That's the era you're looking at for like when things went absolutely off the rails.
I am 100% not editing this out, by the way. We're normally a family-friendly podcast for anybody that's held on this long.
Fuck that.
I think you were okay with some coarse language.
No, today we're going off.
You won't hear any ducks quacking.
Oh,
during this episode.
I'm physically blushing. I didn't realize I wasn't meant to
Oh
swear.
no, we're gonna.
No.
Well, we don't know you're blushing again. We're looking at
Tom
slick,
Selleck.
We're looking at weird slick
We're
baby,
looking at Tom
slick
Selleck.
baby Jeff Goldblum right
That's
now,
right.
doused in milk.
That's right.
It's very confusing.
That's right.
Oh no, you refreshed.
Oh
No, oh, it's ruined. Now we're just looking at dots spinning on Discord, but he ruined what we were thinking about. This is
family friendly.
Is this the NC-17 version?
I don't know.
I don't know where we're going.
I think Lars von Trier would be almost embarrassed about how off the rails this is right now. Okay, just putting that out there. All right. First of all, PK, the conversation always goes a direction that I should expect. I don't.
Chaos?
It's chaos.
Yeah.
It is chaos.
That's what I like.
It's the most fun.
It's like milk
It
parlor.
is the most.
I know where we can pick up again if you want to go back to. I just berated Uber Bear himself for picking Deathrite Shaman as an example of things that have been power kept out of Magic.
Yeah. What is wrong with you, Anthony?
It's not a
It's
strong...
like literally my favorite card of all time, and you're going to talk shit about a card that comes down turn 1, can make mana, can gain life, can drain life. It's the OG Planeswalker.
It's really good, by the way, PK.
It's an unbelievable
And my
card.
two-headed giant cube, even better. Do the math.
Card is still very good. It is banned in
it's
many
double
places
math.
for good reason.
I'm gonna call myself out. I've also called out cards that I would put in that bracket of Jace as well as Deathrite Shaman. Okay, Anthony and I have had discussions about cards choices for the Vintage Cube, for your Vintage Cube. Mm-hmm. Vince, I know you have your own, Vintage Cube list. Mm-hmm. I kind of feel bad for talking shit about Tarmogoyf. I kind of feel bad for talking bad about Jace.
Why do you feel bad, Stu?
Because Anthony and I will get together, we'll talk, we'll hang out, and a list will be discussed. It could be a vintage list, it could be an artifact list, whatever. And I will invariably, sometimes for the purpose of discussion, most of the times for that, will say, here's a card or a cluster of cards, and it could be because there are archetype support or whatever. Say, let's talk about these cards because I either think that they maybe have been power crept out in the form of something like Tarmogoyf or maybe Jace the Mind Sculptor in the past, and maybe Jason and Tarmogoyf are conversations that we had a few years ago. I actually think that I've got to start being a little bit more open-minded. Jace, I would argue that I said
sure
is
you
not
said
the
Jason somewhere in that conversation.
Jace.
You said
Jason Mind Sculptor.
I'm 100%. You said Jason the Mind Sculptor.
Jason is his first name. That's his full name. It's like Dave the Mind Sculptor.
Jason was his name before they stuck the 4th ability on him during testing. I'm sorry, not during testing, without any testing.
Before he got a spark.
But there's an adjacency, I think, to cards like that see their day, they come out, and then it's like, oh, you know what's actually maybe the best example is Snapcaster Mage. I would argue that there was a period of time of the Vintage Cube era where Snapcaster Mage was kind of looking like it's 2 mana, which is fine, but it's 2 mana with a condition to bring a card back. Great if you've got Time Walk, maybe okay if you've got a counterspell or something like that, but is it starting to get towards the end of its life? Would you agree that Snapcaster Mage, in my opinion, is banal? I think it's still super powerful.
I think like Jason the Mind Sculptor is definitely past his heyday. That's definitely true. I think DRS is a real outlier. We can't really say that because DRS is still would be played as a 4 in like every legacy deck going if it was legal in that format. Not every deck, but most decks, a large portion of decks. I think, Tarmogoyf is a good example of it, but again, Tarmogoyf teeters on the edge of relevancy. Like, he occasionally just shows up in journalists and like Modern and stuff where people win an event and have Goyf in there. Because really, they still haven't quite power crept the 2-mana beater that can become a 6/7, right?
Yeah.
That's still not quite there. No. Obviously, it's not as good as Psychic Frog, but again, different colors and everything. Snappy's getting there with that, similar to Goyf, where he's not truly power crept out, but he's just not as efficient as he once was. But I think Snappy's an interesting one because in the Vintage Cube specifically, where he can recast like Recall, Time Warp, or any of like the premium removal spells at 1 mana, he's a lot better. And then when you move out of powered, it gets a lot worse. I think like the real heyday cards that like who are margins below those ones are like your Cryptic Command, right? Cryptic Command is really out of vogue and never sees any play in any competitive lists in other formats, and it's like hard including the cube. Vendilion Clique, they're doing a promo of it for GPs next year, Spotlight Series. That card is only playable in cube, right?
You know what's hilarious? We actually talked about this a couple of recordings ago, and I talked to, it was yourself, Anthony, and our good friend Chris.
Hi, Self.
Basically, I did them a little quiz, and we pulled up a couple of Vintage Cube lists, your list and his list and the Moto list and whatever, and I said, let's look at the 4 green drops, right? Green, for me, is the most contentious.
Was it my list or
cover. I've done your list
list
as well. I've looked at your list as well. Could you guess... Green 4 drops. This is only 10 years ago from the 2015 Vintage Cube. Ooh. So again, the most powerful cards in the history of Magic just 10 years ago. What would you think? 4 drops.
This is exciting. I love this kind of shit. Okay, 2015 green 4 drops.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Obstinate Baloth.
Obstinate Baloth is not there.
Oh, fuck. That was my. I'm saying naughty words again. I'm not censoring it.
Yeah, it's a naughty episode, but you're not going to get it right because this is the Black Pete Krampus version of Ubercube right now. Hold please.
I see. This is the X-ray. This is Ubercube After Dark. So green 4 drops that aren't Obstinate Baloth. So there's Garrett Relentless. Do you want creatures or do you want spells?
Let's go with just creatures. Let's stick with the creatures.
Makes you feel better. I failed this epically.
I've got to get this. So Garrick Relentless is definitely in there as green 4-drop Planeswalker. That's a really obvious one.
Garrick was not in the list.
The Unga Bunga package has not been developed
there was no.
yet.
I'll give you. No, there was no Garrick Relentless in the 2015 Vintage Cube, but Garrick Wild Speaker was in the list.
Oh, I'm saying the wrong name. I'm saying not the illustrated one. Sorry, the one that untaps 2 lands. That's Wild Speaker, right?
That is Garrick Wildspeaker, correct. So I'll give you that. So now...
Okay, sorry, I'm thinking Lorwyn 5. I'm thinking Lorwyn 5 because he's so much better than...
So it's only 3. It's 3 creatures. They are green 4 drops. They were in the Vintage Cube 10 years ago.
It's painful. You're never going to get it. But if you do...
One of them you will definitely get.
I will mail you one of McKellen to get it correct right now without cheating. No looking at the internet. Don't look at the internet. I see you.
I'm not looking at the internet. I'm looking at a box of Rift Power on the floor. Oh my god, I want to get this so bad. This is like, just talk along it for a little bit for the audience. There's like pauses and quietness. So like, this is way before Throne. We're talking like 3 or 4 years before Throne of Eldraine.
Right.
So that's where Questing Beast comes in. So that's not in there.
Correct.
So I'm trying to think what my green 4 drops are now to see if any of them have lasted, but I can't even think beyond Questing Beast.
No, nothing in any relevant or new list.
Don't give him any hints. McKellen's
It doesn't matter.
That's why I went straight to Baloth. I was like, that's a sideboard card that isn't that great, but it just feels like it'd be the best 4-drop thing you could ramp into in green. Oh, Master of the Fells, Master of the Wild Hunt.
Ding, 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 ding!
Makes wolves and fights.
Christ.
Yes, Master of the Wild Hunt, number 1. Yes, you are 100% correct. So, Master of the Wild Hunt.
That card is still very good, by the way.
It's a great card.
Like, if you don't have removal for it, it does justify over a game.
Master of Wild Hunt. So, give him your upkeep, put a 2/2 green wolf creature token onto the battlefield. You can then tap all untapped wolf creatures you control. Each wolf tap this way deals damage equal to its power to target creature, and then that creature deals damage equal to its power divided as its controller chooses among any number of those wolves.
So the next one, though, you gave Chris and I was kind of weird. There was another one that was odd.
Listen, we got to give Vince. Vince is trying so hard to get this. I love it. This is wonderful.
We named that one, by the way. There was an obscure one, by the way, that destroyed an
going back
enchantment.
to them, like, it destroys an enchantment. Oh, is it Wickerborough Elder?
Oh, well, that was too easy.
That is correct.
Apparently,
that is correct. Really, that is number 2. 2015
brother, we are mailing you a nice bottle.
It's got persist. You can it's got persist. You can move a count from it.
Yeah, one more.
1 mana sack it, blah blah thing, right?
One more.
There's one more.
One more. 4 drop. Okay. Green creature. 2015 vintage list. Da, 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 da,
Okay. So 2015. What was the latest set to come out in 2015? So I can teleport myself back in time.
I'm gonna give you a hint. It's a troll.
No. Don't give me a hint on the card.
No.
Oh, for fuck's sake! It's Thron. Then you just ruined it.
Yes, it is.
Anthony, if you told me the set, I could have teleported myself back in time and remembered playing Vintage Q on Motor at the time.
I don't have that kind of skill set.
Okay.
Because Thron with any sort of X and Y was absolutely disgusting.
Okay, now we're going to go to the 5 mana green creatures.
Right.
Okay?
So Thragtusk is in there.
Thragtusk. 2 more.
Yeah. 2 more 5 green drop things. So Tender Shoot Dryad didn't exist yet.
Correct.
So that wasn't it.
Nope.
Is there a 5 mana version? So Verdant Force is like 7. It's a silly amount of mana, isn't it?
7 mana. Yeah. And Verdant Force is.
Yeah, so that's not the 5 drop.
It's never been in there.
Tender Shoot Dryad is a very silly power crept version of Verdant. So Thragtusk, we're talking post Titans, so Prime Time's in the 6 mana slot. What else from that era? What was the latest set? So obviously, New Phyrexian came out. It was a bit later than that, wasn't it? 2015.
Yeah.
I'm literally googling MTG set releases 2015. I want to do the teleportation thing. So for the audience at home, 2015, the releases were Fate Reforged, Dragons of Tarkir, Modern Masters 2015, the second one, Origins, Vault Angels, Battle of Zendikar. Okay. That's not helping. Shit.
No, it's not going to really help.
Well, no, it's not. I'm not looking for cards from those sets. I'm looking to remember around that era, like what would have been in cubes. Because this is probably around the time that I took my cube apart that I had at university. I had a cube that I took apart to sell cards out of because I was poor. No, you're going to have to give me clues on this one because that is not coming to me.
The first one has Death Touch, and it has an ETB, and it destroys something.
5 mana green creature, ETB, kill something, Death Touch.
Yes.
Mono green.
Correct. And the second one,
which
counters matters.
And it's in the Black
Think
Parade.
about +1/+1s. First one has an ETB, has
Well,
Death Touch.
is one of them Bane of Progress?
It's not.
Fuck, that's a pretty good card for time. Cares about counters.
Yeah, one of them has some counter action.
Cheat code.
+1s.
Go to the Black Parade.
No, quiet.
I'm trying not to do that.
Yeah, no, this is.
No, I'm not going to get these. That surprised me. Death touching ETB blow up a thing in green. 5 mana.
You ready?
Yep,
I'm gutted that I only got one of those 5.
All right, here we go.
We lost a bet.
Here we go. All right, number 1. 3 colorless and 2 green. Death Touch. Enters the battlefield, destroy target artifact, enchantment, or land. 2/2 is.
Oh, acidic slime.
Yeah.
Oh, God.
There it is.
Isn't that? I think that's still in my vintage cube.
Well, we have news.
Am I right in that? Let me have a look.
No, you're not.
I should put it back in. You should. Anyway, next one.
All right, this is the last one. So Thragtusk was number 1, Acidic Slime number 2. Number 3, this is 3 mana, 2 green. It is a creature that cares about +1/+1s. It's actually a 0/0, and it enters with counters.
Oh, Colonian Hydra?
Is Colonian Hydra. Well done.
Up in the Patreon. That's how we do it.
All right, here's the last one. The 60s.
That card was a real chase rare problem when it first came out. People were so scared of it.
Still is, by the way, in the Black Parade.
All right, last one we're going to do today because, I don't know, green seems to be the theme. You mentioned Prime Time. That was the 6 drop.
It's my most drafted color, by the way, so I should be good at this.
Okay.
But probably not.
But what was the other?
Green 6 drop.
Green 6 drop.
That isn't Prime Time.
That isn't Prime Time.
Okay, so Hornet Queen is 7.
Correct. I'll give you a
Great
couple
Hope
of
is 8,
clues.
so it's neither of those.
Yeah, Hornet Queen was 7, Terastodon and Woodfall Primus are 8. So it's not those, but it's a 6 drop with Prime Time, 2015 vintage.
2015 vintage. So it might have been the latest chase bullshit. So it might have been Soul of Zendikar or something.
It's not. And I'll give you, every time you do a little guess, I'll give you one very small hint. This does have an ETB.
Naturally.
It does have an ETB, and I'll give you another quick clue. It does also have an LTB.
Enters and leaves.
It does have a leaves.
Not Thragtusk. Enters or leaves. Oh, does it have an evoke?
It does not have an evoke.
Because that wouldn't get enter and leave. That'd be too strong.
Yeah.
It's not an evoke. It's a 6 drop green. Okay, give me the mana cost.
4 colorless, 2 green.
Flipping heck, that does not help. 2015.
It's like about as generic a 6 mana cost as you can think, right? Oh, 4.
Yeah, I was waiting for a
green.
triple or quad green or something. I thought,
If it was
right,
6 green, it would be super easy. But yeah, nope.
All right, give me one more. Give me. Do I ask for the creature type? Is that just going to give it away?
Yes, the creature
Give me the creature type. Oh, I'm going to give it away.
I think the creature type will give it away.
Give me the set then. Creature type or set?
Man, I even think the set might. All right, I'll give you the set. It's Battle for Zendikar.
Battle for Zendikar,
Yeah.
ETB and leaves.
Yeah.
It's Battle for Zendikar. We had
When it leaves,
when
it leaves, the leaves is a May.
what on earth? I feel
Yeah.
like I should just know this now.
The leaves
6
is
drop
a
creature.
May.
BFZ. For the people at home, it's not Avenger of Zendikar because that's 7, and that's original Zendikar, and it's not World Breaker because that was 7 mana and technically colorless.
It's not Avenger of Zendikar, but
it's right. Okay, it's either Green Warden of Marassa. I'm trying to picture.
It's Green Warden of Marassa.
I could see its art. I could see it coming into my mind's eye. Like I'm in
So
just a mind
I
palette.
walked
Listen,
into the pain.
let's put this out there for the listeners, because as much as heavily edited as this is going to be, this is Green Warden of Marassa. So not 10 years ago, okay? It's not that long ago, but this is vintage cube, 6 mana, creature elemental, 5/4. When it enters the battlefield, you may return target card from your graveyard to your hand. And then the dies, the ETB, is you may exile it if you do return target card from your graveyard to your hand.
What may have been cut from the edit, or may have been left in at this point, is that Anthony tried to tell me it's like Rex Age. What he really meant, it was like Eternal Witness.
Yes, that was where I think Anthony's
I can
confusion
see
was.
where the brain fart happened. He wasn't trying to sabatage my guessing. I love that card. On that topic of this sort of stuff, I played Nostalgia Cube at Cube Clash, which I played twice now. I played Cube Slam, my own event, earlier in the year as well, earlier this year. And that's all these cards are like playable. It's a very fun cube. There's a power level concern where Soul Ring's in it because that's nostalgic for the owner. I'm like, yeah, but it's dumb and it shouldn't be in the cube. Yeah. But the cube is very good. Nostalgia Cube, if anyone's looking for it, is very good. It is very fun.
Wonderful. And that's kind of the similar vibe that your Black Parade cube is going, all right?
I imagine so.
Yeah. We kind of had a
I went 2-1 with Gideon Jura, Ajani Vengeant, Jace the Mind Sculptor. No, it wasn't Jace the Mind Sculptor. What was my other 4-drop? And maybe it was Jace. Yeah, then my 3 Planeswalkers I was playing. I was playing Jeskai, Lightning Helix and Electrolyze and all these things that again. Well, Helix is still good enough, right?
No. Are we doing powered vintage cube? No. But you know what?
Sorry.
Back to the it's not good enough conversation. Everything's good enough. Just requires the right context.
Yeah, exactly. What I mean is if you're looking for a card in the same slot, you're looking at things like Braids and Untimely Malfunctions or Helix, right? And Helix still does that thing where it changes aggro races significantly. If you're playing aggro versus aggro and someone Helix is one of your creatures, that's so much more backbreaking than getting a braided, right? So
All right.
Helix hasn't been power cramped yet.
Well, I want to thank PK. It's been wonderful. It's always wonderful. Please, I cannot stress this enough. Go to PK's Discord. It's an absolute riot. The YouTube content is absolutely next level. Everything. YouTube content. Do some more Twitch streaming. Let's get some more cubes on the go.
I love this shit. I'm annoyed that I'm so bad at it.
We're doing a series. Vintage Cube History Jeopardy. I'm telling you. PK, you better get your... I don't know. We're doing this one of them.
I'm down.
I'm doing it.
I'm down.
We're doing it. Okay? And just a heads up, we're going to introduce... This is the number one Magic Vintage Cube / whatever trivia night. We're going to get these up and running. I'm telling you right now. All the guests are going to be on. Anthony?
I'm up for it. I'll win.
PK's in.
I got all of them with clues. The only one I didn't get was that dog shit that they'd...
Some of them...
really...
Stop playing aggro.
Stop including all the Modern Horizons aggro cards in your cubes that aren't meant to be powered up. There you go. There's my hot take.
Thank
It's a very
Thank you.
obvious statement.
Put that on a t-shirt, Anthony.
The Black
Stop
Beret
your
t-shirt.
Stupid Modern Horizons aggro cards, all right?
Sued by my chemical
Your Modern Horizons 1, 2, and 3 drops do not belong here.
Thank you.
There's the more...
Thank you. All right. First of all, Vince, so much love, my brother. It's always a blast. It's always chaos. And I kind of... we do have some kind of very structured parts of our show, and I love that too, but I kind of feel these wonderful, like, just free-for-all... There's got to be some entertainment value there somewhere, right?
I have to say something here. Like, if you're watching this because you just come on to listen to me talk about Cube and you're, like, new to this podcast, it's not always like this. I completely agree with Stu. There's some great episodes. There's one with Justin Parnell where we talk about AB combos. That's really good. There's one with Gavin where... I can't remember the exact topic, but there's quite a lot of insight. He said that 540 cubes are better than 360s or whatever because the variance makes more interesting, varied gameplay. And I was like, yes, Gavin agrees with me. Also, while we're on this topic of episodes that I enjoyed and didn't enjoy, your episode where you all ragged on Flickr for like an hour and a half, I was in the gym and I was livid. I was like, fuck all of you. Flickr is a fantastic archetype. How dare you?
An argument about Flickr... As much as
we should go around a table. We should go around a table to say if you had to put one of them in room 101, would you put aggro or Flickr as a cube archetype?
I would
Which one's going in the dustbin?
They're both fighting each other to the death, and then we move on with our lives. That's what's happening.
I'm putting aggro in room 101 and Flickr's living in the dream cubes and the audacious cubes. Yes. Anthony, which one are you putting into room 101? Which one are you discarding?
I'm keeping Flickr because I got it in the Fem cube, baby.
I've got to agree. I've got to agree.
So you're keeping Flickr?
Yes,
keeping Flickr.
I'm keeping it too. I'm keeping it too.
Darn it! Get the frick out of here, aggro.
You said frick.
All right. First of all, again, huge thanks, Vince. I don't think you need too much of an introduction, but tell us where everyone can find you.
If you want to listen to me talk about Magic the Gathering and other card games and tabletop adjacent stuff, you can find me at Pleasant Kenobi on YouTube. It's where I upload most of my stuff, my videos, normally 3 to 5 videos a week. I do have a smaller Warhammer channel that I will probably be uploading more to in the new year as I get back on that train for competitive play next year. And if you want to just follow me on socials, Instagram, a little bit of Twitter, mainly Bluesky because it's full of less Nazis and less bots. All of those, I am Pleasant Kenobi. You can find me on those where I, again, talk about tabletop games, board games, card games, and all that nerdy stuff.
Awesome.
You can find me here.
You can find me here too.
Okay, cool.
UberCube MTG Podcast.
Take us
literally in the same room.
That's it.
Yeah, we're in the same room.
That's it. You can find us. Just go to your preferred browser and search UberCube Podcast, and you're going to find us.
Other than that, Stu's going to take us to the socials.
All right, as always, want to give a huge shout out and a big thank you to all of our Patreons for their ongoing support. If you want to get in on the conversation, go check out facebook.com/groups/MTGCube. 1,200 members now getting in on the conversation. Yeah. Pretty cool. You can find us at Twitter at UberCubeMTGPod or at Bluesky, UberCubeMTGPodcast.bsky.social. If you want to reach out to us, you got a longer question or comment about the show, UberCubeMTGPodcast@gmail.com. And as always, come hang out with us on the Discord.
Happy Cube Days!